Thank you for traveling to be with us today. I want to go in somewhat of a different direction. Your comment about the standards that we have that mimic the Common Core should be removed. Am I remembering that right?
Well, I don't mimic. I say the process standards are a special deal. I mean, the process standards, you want to look at them in terms of the way they interact with the mathematics and what they do for it. And it turns out that although the process standards, so-called in Common Core, are technically better in terms of how they interact with actual mathematics, neither the process standards in Common Core nor the process standards in Texas are interpreted in that way. Rather, they're interpreted in the way I tried to indicate, where they sit over actual mathematics and control it, and everything is constructed from it. But I also tried to say that the only everythings that can be constructed from it are the kind of math that cavemen would have done 5,000 years ago.
Well, and I hope you would agree with me that if we hear quite often that Common Core is illegal in Texas, which it is, and we hear that our standards look like Common Core or are Common Core, and that they ought to be removed from our standards.
Well, pieces of it look like Common Core.
Well, and so to that end, I pulled up for the first time in my life the Common Core math standards. And yes, I have it on my iPad. Nobody tell the Attorney General. And let me just start with the very first one, kindergarten. Count to 100 by ones and tens.
Yeah.
Because that's in Common Core, we can't not have it in ours.
No, of course not. That's actual mathematics.
And exactly. And so my challenge is, and my frustration is, we keep getting told this is Common Core, so you can't use it. But if we took everything out of our standards that are in Common Core, the teachers would sit in math class and look at their children.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree, but there's a difference between meta standards, if you want to call them that, from the philosophical point of view, and standards. And the process standards are meta standards. Now, and those standards have well, first of all, it is impossible to create meta standards within standard logic that will create and override all of mathematics. That's simply not going to happen. And so you have meta standards here that claim to do just that.
Do you believe?
And so Common Core also has meta standards that don't quite claim that in the document itself, they do not quite claim that they're meta standards, the process standards that they have recreate and do all of mathematics. But what they do claim is that it is the interface between mathematics and the rest of the world.
Do you believe that if we were to interpret literally the state law that says Common Core may not be used, that it would absolutely gut our math standards?
Well, your math what I understand by math standards are already gutted.
That's not my question. If we went through and printed out the Common Core math standards and took all of those and said none of these can be in our standards, what would be left?
Quite a bit. But it would almost all be in the high school level, because the one place where you actually have not horrible standards, pretty good, above average, in fact, standards, is in high school.
But if we gut K through 8, we're not going to do very well in high school.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you. You're setting up a situation which is, I'm sure somebody can get around. The phraseology issues are here.
Right. And that's my concern is I have not found a member of the board that supports using the Common Core standards for our standards in our classrooms, in our board meetings, anywhere. What I've come to understand because of experts like you that say there are certain fundamental truths in math that must be taught.
Yes.
And so if those happen to be in Common Core and happen to be in ours, we can't take them out, or we're not teaching our kids fundamental truths of math.
Believe me, I'm not arguing with you about that. I am saying that there are certain things that are not mathematics that are in Common Core, namely their process standards, that are mirrored far too closely by you, because the same errors that are in their process standards are being reflected in yours.
And you and I will agree that if there are flaws with some of our standards, we ought to address those flaws in our standards. My concern is if we use the Common Core as the reason for taking them out, then we go down a path where there's nothing left.
Well, you go down a path where the verbal problems may be significant. Yes, I can see this. I can see this. I'm not going to deny that.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Maynard.